Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that's kind of invisible but absolutely essential. The things that make or break any product. Non-functional requirements. These are those critical details that really decide whether your users are going to love your software or, just give up on it. So let's get into what they really are. You've heard this saying a million times, right? Well, in the world of software, it's the absolute truth. These details are what separate a product that technically works from a product that works beautifully. And today, we are pulling back the curtain on exactly what those details are.
I mean, of course you have. We've all been there. That feeling you get, that frustration when a page just spins and spins, or you can't figure out how to do something simple, that's the exact problem we're talking about. It's not that the feature is broken, it's that the whole experience feels broken.
That frustration, it usually points directly to a failure in what we call non-functional requirements, or NFRs for short. You can think of them as the hidden blueprint for a great product experience. It really just boils down to one simple thing: the difference between what a system does and how well it does it. So a functional requirement is a feature, like say the living room or kitchen in a house. But the NFRs, they're the building codes. They're the foundation, the electrical, the plumbing. You don't really notice them when they're done right, but you definitely feel it when they're done wrong.
Okay, so we know why they matter, but what exactly are they? Let's break it down.
The official definition from the Scaled Agile framework goes like this. Now, the two words you really want to latch onto here are qualities and constraints. This is so important because it means NFRs aren't just features you build and then check off a list. Nope. They are the permanent rules of the road that the entire system has to follow, always. So the first type we're going to talk about is system qualities. You'll often hear people call these the abilities. And it's all about the attributes of the system, right? How fast is it? How secure is it? How easy is it for someone to actually use? These are the qualities that your users feel directly. The second type is what we call design constraints. Now, these are a little different. These are rules that limit the choices the development team has. They're not always about what the user sees, but more about things like strategy, legal rules, or technical standards. For instance, a rule that says all user data must be encrypted, that's a design constraint every single team has to obey, no exceptions. And this is a really, really critical point, so I want to pause on it. You don't finish an NFR. It's not a ticket you can close. It's a rule that's always on. So if your performance requirement is that pages load in under 200 milliseconds, then every single feature you build from now until the end of time has to follow that rule. Let's look at a real-world example. A team is tasked with building a shopping cart. Simple enough, right? But they can't just build it however they want. It's got to be fast. It's got to be accessible for people using screen readers. It has to be super reliable. Oh, and it has to use a very specific payment provider. The NFRs create this set of guardrails that dictate exactly how that feature has to be built. But look, just saying a system needs to be fast or secure is, well, it's pretty useless if you can't actually measure it. So the real question is, how do you take these fuzzy, abstract goals and make them concrete and testable? And that's the core challenge, isn't it? If you can't measure it, you can't build it, and you sure as heck can't test it. Saying the system should be user-friendly is a nice thought, but it's not a requirement. Saying a brand new user must be able to complete checkout in under 90 seconds, that is something you can actually test. So how do we do that? Well, there's actually a pretty simple 5-step process. First, you name the quality you're talking about. Then, you define exactly how you're going to measure it. And then, this is the important part, you set a clear target for what success looks like and a hard limit for what failure looks like. This is how you turn a vague idea into a precise engineering spec. A really solid NFR has these 4 qualities. It's bounded, it's independent, it's testable, and, this one is so important, it's negotiable. And that last one is critical because every single one of these NFRs comes with a price tag. Yep, that's right, because these aren't just technical decisions. They are absolutely economic ones. Quality is never free. So, how much does it cost? Well, get this. The effort, the complexity, the sheer cost to go from a system that's available 99.98% of the time to one that's available 99.999% of the time can be 10 times higher. That tiny little decimal point has gigantic consequences. And you can see that insane cost jump right here. That last little fraction of a percent of quality gets exponentially more expensive. So you have to step back and ask the hard question. Is achieving 5 nines of availability really worth a 10x explosion in cost for our product? The key is making that a conscious, deliberate choice. You know, the smartest way to handle this is to define your NFRs as a range, not as a single fixed number. This gives your teams the breathing room to explore the cost of hitting different quality levels. It lets you find that sweet spot, that perfect economic balance, instead of getting locked into a wildly expensive target right from the start. Okay, so once you've defined these NFRs and your teams have built the system, you have one last crucial step. You have to prove you actually met them, and that is where testing for quality comes in. This grid you're looking at is called the Agile Testing Matrix. It's a way of organizing all the different kinds of testing you do. Now, the other quadrants focus on things like features and components, but look down there in the bottom right, quadrant 4. That is where we test for those big system qualities. Quadrant 4 is all about these specialized tech-heavy tests that really critique the product as a whole. This is where you run performance and load tests to check for speed. It's where you do security penetration testing. It's where you validate your accessibility standards. This is how you prove, with data, that you've hit those all-important NFRs. And that brings us right back to the details. I want you to think about what you're working on right now. What are those invisible rules? The unspoken expectations for performance, for security, for usability. Finding them, measuring them, and building for them, that isn't just a detail. It just might be the most important thing you do.